Hey guys, what we've got here is a little collision test between text and sprites. So basically the border will change yellow if you're colliding with one of these, and it all works quite nicely. So basically the border will be red and then turns yellow. So let me show you how that works. So the initial setup is just some text thrown in a couple of places. One points at the sprite, one's a little text wall. Then set up the sprites. We got our overlay and underlay here. So this is our multicolor one and our high res one. This is slot 0 so that it goes over slot 1. This is a little sprite we collide with. Initially set a border color to here. It just sort of flashes through that, mind you, and then basically just goes to red because it's checking colliders as soon as you start moving. So that's all good. In fact, this is setting the background color to brown is what that does. This here then looks at the animation. So we've got little strings here of what the sequence of frames is. So it's just A0 and A1 is the sprite pointers. And the same for here is just like you see a sign that was there, but you've got A2 and A3. So if you look at the sprite itself, well, you can see up here it's basically 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. And you see it automatically changes resolution there. I just noticed that, oh yeah, that comes up because of the extra bytes. Okay, so that's all good. That sets up the animations. This is the animation speed. The lower this is kind of a wait time for number of frames before it will change to the next frame. So I have this at 8, which is quite nice. The lower it is, the faster it will go. So speed is really the frame delay. Then there's this JSR. So this is the routine that we call. This sets up the routine, and this is what we call to animate it. And that basically ends up here, and that'll be in the lookup list. So you can find it quite easily. So once it's done that, it's doing this routine of checking the joystick. Sort of, this is the main loop. So it checks for left. Also, we wait the screen to be drawn, just in case. Which one things to be timed nice. I don't think it necessarily needs it, but I'd put that in there anyway. And what happens is when it calls left, we basically move the sprite, and we have enabled the 9th bit and stopping, which means it stops when it gets to the left edge. And for going right, this is positive. It stops when it gets to the right edge. Again, it's using the 9th bit, just means it can pass 255 on the screen. This is calling the animation to advance it. It's just waiting the raster line, and then it does a jump. I had this as JSRs, like subroutines, with a return, but it was creating a little bit of lag, and I don't want to mess with the stack too much, so I'll just do these jumps. I just jump around. So I jump over to check collision. I set it to red unless we hit something. So we're checking the sprites. So any one of the two sprites of the player with the sprite is in sprite 4, which is kind of a good safe place to put like enemy sprites. So I'm thinking that 0, 1, 2, and 3 is good for player stuff, and 4, 5, 6, 7 is good for enemy stuff. Just kind of safe starting point. And then you switch this. I've done a copy of it. You switch this to background, and then you're just checking which sprites are going to collide with the background. You don't need to do it in group B. So what happens if you hit, and it's going to say go to collision. So it's a jump. It's going to jump to this collision here, and then it's going to set the border to yellow. Then it just jumps back. So I do all this jumping around. I don't really like subroutines for certain things. Use RTSs to get back, but you have to be mindful of those with jumps. it's kind of easy just to sort of jump around in a linear fashion, as opposed to being like returned. So there's probably benefits to one over the other, but everything's working nice. So initially I had this set up all over the place with proxies switched off and hard-coded, addresses, and things would just end up like all over the place like that. But the best way to work is just to enable your proxy, put it to the side like that, and then if you need to extend within these, you can do that quite easily. Just turn that on. Oops, switch that on there. Right, so all the addresses should update. Sometimes you have to sort of click and let go for it to update, but that should all be fine. Yeah, everything's looking pretty nice. Don't know if I'm actually using this variable anymore. I changed a few things, how things work, unless it's somehow using it for collision, but I doubt it. So let me just save this, and then I'm just gonna do a little quick check again. So just hit F5. It'll flash up a couple of times to close any open versions of Vice, and then boost that up again, and then yeah, it's a little bit of a latency issue when I'm doing a screen recording, but this is very smooth. You see I'm playing with the text there as well. For some reason the cursor's blinking, I just not disabled that. So that's all working. So what I was going to do was just take something out. I forget what it was now. Collision. Oh yeah, that variable. I was going to take that out. Just double right click. Just want to see if that broke something. From an older version, I would create these variables to hold a value. Yeah, I don't need that. Alright, so that's all good. And that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye.